We begin tonight with House Resolution 755, a measure impeaching Donald Trump for high crimes and misdemeanors. It took less than 10 minutes for the House Judiciary Committee to make history this morning. Unlike the emotion and the chaos that you may have seen in those last 2 days, this vote to impeach President Trump ended on a quick and formal routine measure. Republicans offering noes, Democrats voting aye, and they did so without noticeable joy or fanfare. Democratic Congressman Jayapal holding up a pocket-sized copy of the Constitution while she voted. Here's some of the historic 10 minutes.
The question now is on Article 1 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for abusing his powers. The clerk will call the roll. The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The question now is on Article 2 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for obstructing Congress. The clerk will call the roll. Is there every member of the committee who wishes to vote voted? The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House.
And there you have it. President Trump in the company of only Presidents Johnson, Nixon, and Bill Clinton. The House Judiciary Committee voting to impeach this 45th president on abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. As you heard the chairman say there, the vote 23-17, party line. All Republicans voting against, all Democrats voting for. Shortly after the vote, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler made a brief and pretty much somber statement.
Today is a solemn and sad day. For the third time in a little over a century and a half, the House Judiciary Committee has voted articles of impeachment against the president for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The House will act expeditiously. Thank you.
And they are acting expeditiously. Everyone is expecting another party line vote on the floor of the House of Representatives. That is next week. And then the president will have at least an asterisk on the presidency, which says basically this first-term president impeached for abusing his office to pressure a foreign country to try to help him cheat in the election. That is where we begin. Leading off our discussion is Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California, a member of that House Judiciary Committee. Good evening to you.
Thank you. Good evening.
We saw a lot, and Americans really across, all over the place were watching what happened in the House Judiciary hearings, the late night, the adjournment, come back. When you take it all together, what do you think people should focus on and understand just happened?
Well, I hope that people focus on the gravity of this. I mean, this was just an incredibly important day in our history, but understanding how serious it was that the president abused the power of the office for his own personal gain. And to make it worse, he did it in order to fix or put a weight on the next election in his favor. And if you go back and look at the history of when the Constitution was being put together, impeachment was inserted in, this is exactly what the framers were concerned about. They were concerned about foreign intervention, especially in an election, and a president who would take his authority to an extreme and use it in an abusive manner. And that's exactly what has happened here and why we had to resort to impeaching him.
What was it like, other than what we saw in the room, sort of going in and going out with your colleagues, given all the rancor with Republicans?
Well, I will tell you that there was no joy amongst the Democrats. There was no joy at all. I think all of us feel the weight of history, feel the seriousness of this decision that we made. But the other reason why it was so important for us to do this and why it was so urgent is because we also feel as though we're watching a crime while it's being committed. And so there was no reason in the world to think that the president was going to stop. You know that that infamous phone call was literally the day after Mueller testified before the Judiciary Committee, where clearly the president felt emboldened that he could take it a step further and interfere in the next election. And that is just something that is unacceptable. So if we had done nothing, I think it really would have been a tragedy to our democracy, and we just could not sit on our hands.
When you look towards the Senate trial, assuming that the House does vote on this next week, What are Americans to take from it, apart from the predictions or expectations about the ultimate outcome? What is the point, as you say, of catching a crime, as you put it, in progress? What's the point of having a public trial and accountability for it?
Well, as you know, the impeachment process is a two-step process. So what we did was essentially indict the president, and then we hand him over to the Senate for a trial. Now, here's what I'm concerned about. The leader of the Senate has basically said he is in lockstep and he is going to coordinate with the defendant. And so if you can imagine going into a courtroom in a trial and the foreman of the jury says, well, I'm working with the person that's, being accused of the crime. And so it's completely inappropriate. McConnell should recuse himself. But I really think it speaks to the way that the whole way he has gone about his presidency, he's kind of infected and contaminated the culture where the Senate president could feel emboldened enough that he could say, yes, I'm going to put my foot on the scale. I mean, boldly said that he is coordinating with the White House. How can a juror coordinate with the defendant?
You find
that is corrupt.
You think he infects people? Is that why you don't hang out with him much, Congresswoman?
I don't think we have much in common.
Well, as you say, there's much to keep track of here, and it's certainly true that, as we're going to be covering tonight, the Senate appears ready to dispense with traditions that it's held for a long time, apparently bowing to Trump, at least some Republican senators. We're going to get into that. Congresswoman Karen Bass, staying up late with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.